The stars were calm that night, or at least that is how it seemed from the bridge of the alien council ship. Ambassador Varen stared at the view screen, frowning. A fleet of unknown ships had appeared on the edge of their territory. They moved slowly, almost lazily, but their presence caused tension in the council chambers. Varen had been part of the council for over 100 cycles, and he had never felt such unease. The reports said that the fleet had no markings, no signals, nothing that indicated which species they belonged to. The council members muttered among themselves, their long, slender fingers tapping strange devices to check data. Varen felt a shiver run down his spine. They were used to dealing with other civilizations, negotiating, or sometimes threatening weaker species into submission. But these ships, these humans, were different. That much was clear, even before anyone had seen the crew. The council chamber doors slid open with a hiss. Varen's eyes narrowed and walked to humans. He had never seen humans in person. He had seen their pictures, small holo images sent by scouts. But those images never prepared him for the reality. The man was tall, with short brown hair and sharp green eyes that seemed to measure everything. He moved with confidence, like he belonged there, even though he was in an alien council chamber surrounded by beings far taller. And stranger than him, his name, as he introduced himself, was Luke Harbour. Beside him walked a woman, slightly shorter, with dark hair tied back in a practical knot. Her eyes were bright, almost too bright for someone who had come to a place like this. Claire Morgan, she said her name was. The council members whispered to one another, their voices a mix of fear and curiosity. Varen felt his jaw tighten. He had read reports about humans before, of course. The Deathworlders, as some species called them. But the stories seemed exaggerated, more like myths than facts. Surely, a species that lived on a planet with constant storms, poisonous plants, and wild beasts that could crush a being in a single strike, would not walk calmly into the council chambers like this. Surely not. Varen cleared his throat. Humans, he began carefully, you are far from your home. Why have you entered our territory without warning? Luke smiled, but it was not a smile of arrogance. It was calm, simple, almost friendly. We didn't mean to startle anyone. We received a signal about your council. We thought it would be better to come and speak directly than send messages. The council members stiffened. Some of them had never met a species so bold. Most species sent formal envoys, polite messages, or gifts. Few walked in unannounced, especially to a council known to deal with conflicts harshly. Varen motioned for the humans to approach a platform at the center of the chamber. They did so without hesitation. Claire's steps were precise and short. Luke's hands were relaxed at his sides, but his eyes never stopped moving, scanning the chamber as if noting everything. Your presence is unusual, Varen said, keeping his voice neutral. We have records of your species. We know some of your world's conditions are extreme, but even so, few humans survive long enough to venture far from your planet. Luke shrugged. We're used to hard worlds. It was a simple answer, but it carried weight. Varen could see it in the way Luke spoke, in the steadiness of his voice. This was not bravado. This was not bluffing. Humans had survived on a planet that most beings would never attempt to set foot on. Usual protocols, Varen continued, would have you submit to scanning and evaluation before you reach this council. We would like to understand your intentions. Claire nodded. We understand. We'll cooperate. Her tone was polite, but there was a subtle strength in her words. She did not sound nervous. She sounded like someone who had faced worse and found it ordinary. Varen gestured to a side chamber where preliminary scans could be performed. Luke and Claire followed without question. The council members, however, lingered near the edges, curious and cautious. Some whispered about the humans' calm demeanor. Some whispered warnings about the Deathworlders. Tales of humans who had survived catastrophes that destroyed entire colonies of other species. The scanning chamber was quiet. Strange machines with soft blue lights moved around the humans, taking readings of their bodies. Alien technicians muttered to each other, puzzled. The readings were unusual. Luke's heart rate remained steady even when a temperature simulation rose far above what any other species could survive. Claire's muscles showed no strain even as a simulated gravitational field pressed against her body, with more force than a human should endure. One technician whispered, almost to herself, "They shouldn't even be alive under this." Claire glanced at her with a small, knowing smile. Luke caught her eye and nodded once, as if to say, "It's fine. Just another test." Meanwhile, Varen watched the readings climb. He felt a cold sweat on his scales. Every simulation, every test, pushed the humans further, yet they showed no signs of weakness. The Council had never seen anything like it. They had studied many species, including some who claimed to be hardy, who had failed these tests within minutes. But the humans remained unaffected. Varen tried to steady his voice. "Your endurance. It is remarkable." Luke glanced at him, still calm. "We've had to be. Our home isn't easy. If we couldn't handle danger, we wouldn't survive. It was that simple. No boasts, no exaggeration. Just plain truth." Varen had studied countless civilizations, but he had never heard words spoken like that before. Humans did not speak in riddles or claims of glory. They spoke of reality of survival and endurance after the scans. The humans were led back into the council chamber. The council members had been whispering among themselves, speculating about the humans' abilities. Some were afraid. Some were in awe. Others simply could not believe the data. Varen addressed the council. "I believe we underestimated them. These humans, they are not what we expected. They are stronger, faster, and more resilient than any report suggested." One council member hissed. A sound of disbelief. Surely they must be exaggerating. Reports are often inflated." Luke leaned slightly forward, his green eyes meeting Varen's. "You can test us again if you like. We won't be offended." The council members recoiled slightly at his calm audacity. No other species had ever spoken to the council like this. Most would have bowed, pleaded, or sent gifts to avoid confrontation. Humans did neither. They simply stated facts. Claire added, "We're not here to fight. We want to understand. We want to talk. But we are who we are. You can't change that." Varen could feel the weight of the room shifting. The humans were not aggressive, yet the presence of their quiet confidence demanded respect. It was not power and weapons. It was not cunning politics. It was the power of survival itself. The council murmured again. Varen realized they had been wrong to assume humans were fragile. Wrong to assume their planet had made them weak. Wrong to assume myths about the Deathworlders were exaggerations. The humans were ordinary in some ways, yes, but their ordinary was extraordinary to anyone who had not faced the harsh conditions of their world. Luke and Claire remained standing, calm and patient, waiting for the council to speak. Varen took a deep breath. "You will be granted audience, and we will continue our discussions. But I warn you, the galaxy does not take kindly to those who enter without warning. Your actions will be watched closely." Luke nodded, his expression neutral. "We understand. We are ready." Claire's dark eyes met Varen's, and in that gaze was an unspoken message: do not underestimate us. As the humans prepared to leave the chamber for the night, the council members whispered among themselves. They had seen bravery before. They had seen cunning and intelligence. But this calm endurance, this quiet strength that did not boast but simply existed, it was something they had never encountered. Varen watched the humans walk toward their quarters on the council ship. He did not feel fear, exactly, but he felt something that came close, respect, mixed with a strange unease. These humans had walked into the council chamber with no armor, no weapons drawn, and no fear. They had faced tests that would cripple any other species, and had passed as if it were a small inconvenience. The stories about the Deathworlders were true. Varen realized, but the council had believed them to be tales of exaggeration. They had not prepared for the reality of human survival. And now, with the humans aboard, the galaxy was about to learn that humans were not just survivors. They were a force that others could not easily predict, a species shaped by hardship, unafraid of danger, and capable of feats no one had imagined. Varen turned back to the view screen. The stars outside seemed calm again, but he knew better. Calm could not last, not when humans were involved. The galaxy would soon discover that appearances could be deceiving. That strength often came in forms no one expected, and that the Deathworlders, the humans, had only just arrived. The next morning, the council decided to conduct formal tests on the humans. The chamber was quiet, the kind of quiet that made every whisper echo. Luke Harper and Claire Morgan stood side by side as the council members prepared the testing. Simulations. The humans did not flinch. Their calmness made the aliens uneasy. Varen, the ambassador, spoke first. The tests are designed to measure your endurance, intelligence, and adaptability. You may refuse any test, but doing so will limit our discussions. Luke shook his head. We will do all tests. We want you to understand who we are. Claire added, We are ready. Show us what you have prepared. The first simulation involved extreme temperatures. The chamber shifted, walls glowing with red and blue lights to indicate heat and cold. Alien technicians watched nervously as the humans stepped forward. The temperature would reach levels that could kill most alien species within minutes. As the heat rose, Luke wiped a bead of sweat from his forehead. Claire adjusted her stance but did not show fear. The alien council members gasped. A single touch of the floor should have made them collapse. Yet the humans stood, speaking quietly to each other. It's warm, Luke said simply. I've felt worse on our planet, Claire replied. The council members whispered among themselves. Some tried to intervene, thinking there was a malfunction in the simulations. But there was none. The humans were enduring exactly as they claimed. Next came the pressure simulation. Gravity increased in the chamber, crushing the floor and making the air hard to breathe. Alien species bent under the pressure, moaning in pain. Luke and Claire barely reacted. Luke's eyes scanned the environment, noting every detail. Claire's posture remained straight. Her breathing steady. One technician leaned toward another. How are they still standing? She asked, her voice trembling. Claire overheard and smiled faintly. We're built for it, she said. Luke nodded. We've trained for these conditions all our lives. On our planet, nothing is gentle. The council watched in disbelief. The stories about humans surviving impossible conditions were not exaggerations. These humans were living proof. After the endurance tests, the aliens moved to intelligence and adaptability trials. The chamber, filled with complex puzzles, mechanical systems, and holographic simulations of alien technology. Luke and Claire studied the devices carefully. Luke touched the panels lightly. Observing how they worked, Claire analyzed patterns, predicting outcomes before the systems could even react. Within minutes, the humans solved the puzzles. They adjusted the devices to create efficiencies the aliens had never imagined. The council members gasped again. Impossible, one whispered. No species has adapted this quickly. Luke smiled faintly. It's not magic. We just think differently. Our world teaches us to adapt or die. Claire added, We learn from experience. That is all. The council continued the tests, creating new challenges, more difficult than the last. They tried simulations with deadly chemicals, with predators, with toxic air, and deadly fungi. Every time, the humans reacted quickly and intelligently. They never panicked. They never complained. One test involved a simulated predator. It was tall, fast, and had claws sharp enough to tear metal. Most aliens froze in terror at its approach. Luke and Claire, however, moved naturally. Claire distracted the predator with a holographic lure, while Luke created a trap that immobilized it. The council members stared, unable to believe what they saw. Finally, the humans were tested in isolation. They were placed in a chamber with no light, no sound, and no communication. Most species panicked within minutes. Luke and Claire sat quietly, closing their eyes, breathing evenly. Hours passed, and still they remained calm. They even meditated, conserving energy and analyzing their surroundings. The council was astonished. These humans, they are extraordinary, Varen said. Luke spoke, still calm. We don't see it as extraordinary. It's normal for us. Our planet is harsh. If we were not ready for this, we would not survive. Claire nodded. We are used to danger. We live with it every day. This is nothing compared to what we face at home. After the tests, the humans were allowed to rest. They ate simple meals, prepared from rations the council had provided. They spoke quietly, discussing the simulations and how they could be improved. The aliens listened, amazed. These humans did not just survive, they analyzed, learned, and adapted. Varen pulled aside a senior council member. They are too calm, too skilled. Are they what we have heard about, the Deathworlders? The council member nodded slowly. Yes, but seeing it is different from the stories. The humans are perfect for surviving the impossible. We have underestimated them. Meanwhile, Luke and Claire sat quietly, planning their next steps. They were not arrogant, but they knew they were different. They had grown up on a planet where storms could rip cities apart and predators hunted without mercy. They had learned to survive, to adapt, to face fear without flinching. Here, in the council chambers, they were far from home. But nothing they faced was truly dangerous compared to what they had endured. That evening, Varen called a private meeting with the humans. Your endurance is remarkable. Your skills surpass anything we expected. I must warn you, other species will not take kindly to your abilities. You may be seen as a threat. Luke leaned forward. We understand. We do not seek conflict. We are here to learn, not to fight, but we will defend ourselves if needed. Claire added, we have faced worse than what you can imagine. Survival is our instinct, not our choice. You may see it as dangerous. We see it as necessary. Varen sighed. You are unlike any species I have ever met. I hope we can work together without incident. Luke smiled faintly. We hope the same. We are not here to conquer. We are here to understand. But we will not hide who we are. Claire nodded. It is better to be honest from the start. That night, the humans slept lightly. Even in the quiet of the alien chambers, they remained aware of their surroundings. Luke checked the sensors, ensuring that no threat could approach undetected. Claire cleaned and prepared their equipment. They were not paranoid, they were prepared. Preparation had kept them alive all their lives. The council members watched from a distance. Uneasy, they had seen humans before, through scouts and sensors. They had heard the legends of the Deathworlders, but seeing humans in person, and during tests designed to break any other species, was something else entirely. Varen could not shake the feeling that the galaxy had misjudged humans. They were not fragile. They were not weak. They were a force shaped by danger, a species that could thrive where others would fail. And the council had only seen a small part of what humans could do outside. The stars shimmered coldly, as if warning of the challenges to come. Luke and Claire were ready. They had faced death on their planet countless times. Here, in the council chambers, the danger was different, but they faced it the same way as humans. As survivors, as Deathworlders, the next day would bring new tests, more difficult than the first. But Luke and Claire were not worried. They had grown up where failure meant death, where every step required careful thought and courage. The aliens would see that soon enough. They would see that humans were not only survivors, they were a species the galaxy had never truly understood. And in the council chambers, whispers spread. The humans, they are Deathworlders, stronger than anything we imagine. What will happen if they leave this room? Varen shook his head, unsure. He had seen courage before, and skill, and intelligence. But nothing like this. Luke and Claire had not raised weapons, not threatened anyone, and yet their presence filled the room with a quiet, undeniable power. The council realized they were witnessing something rare. Humans were ordinary in appearance, but extraordinary in every measure that mattered. Strength, endurance, intelligence, and adaptability, they had it all. And soon, the galaxy would learn that humans were a species to be reckoned with. Luke and Claire did not speak of this. They prepared for the next day's trials, calm and confident. They were used to danger, used to the impossible. For them, this was another challenge, another test, and like always, they would face it head-on. The stars outside the chamber seemed distant, cold, and unyielding. But Luke and Claire did not fear them. They had survived storms that could tear mountains apart, predators that could crush cities, and poisons that would kill any other species. Here, far from their world, they were still the same humans. Deathworlders, unbroken, the council members, meanwhile, whispered in growing concern. They had underestimated humans. They had assumed myths were exaggerated. But now, there was no doubt, the humans were extraordinary, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The next morning, the calm of the council chambers was broken by an urgent alert. Red lights flashed along the walls, and the air thrummed with tension. A distress signal had come from a colony. On a nearby planet, the message was short and urgent. A known predator attacking. Colony in danger. All units lost. Help needed immediately. Varen stared at the view screen. His eyes widened. The colonists had faced threats before, but nothing like this. The report mentioned a creature so deadly that no council forces had survived encounters with it. Entire squads had been wiped out. Luke and Claire were already moving toward the command center. Calm as ever. Let me see the report, Luke said, scanning the message. Tell me about the creature. What do you know? One of the alien officers, shaking slightly, spoke. It is enormous, with thick armor plating. Its claws can tear through metal. It is fast, strong, and unpredictable. No species has survived its attacks. The colony, it is finished unless Luke cut him off. Unless what? The officer hesitated. Unless humans intervene. There are legends, Deathworlders, stories of humans who survive extreme conditions. Fight predators far stronger than any other species can handle. We thought the stories were myths, but we may have no choice. Claire's eyes narrowed. Where's the colony? How far? 40 light minutes, the officer replied. We can send a rescue fleet, but most will not survive the encounter. Luke exchanged a glance with Claire. We go, he said simply. Varen froze. You do not know what you are facing. Even our best units were destroyed. It is suicide. Luke shook his head. It's not suicide. We know what we are capable of. We have survived worse. We will save them if we can. Claire added, we cannot ignore those in danger. That is not who we are. Varen hesitated, unsure. He had seen the humans endure tests designed to break species far stronger than them. He had seen them adapt to impossible conditions. But this was different. This was real, uncontrolled danger. If the humans failed, they would die, and he had no backup plan. Finally, Varen sighed. Very well, you may go. But be warned, no one has returned from facing this creature. Not even our elite forces. Luke nodded, unshaken. We understand, but we will do our best. That is all any of us can do. Claire added, we move now. There is no time to waste. The humans boarded the council transport, a sleek ship capable of high speeds. The engines hummed softly as they left the council station, moving quickly toward the colony. The journey was tense. The aliens monitoring the ship from the council chambers could barely watch. Some whispered prayers. Others shook their heads, certain the humans would never make it. Inside the ship, Luke studied the sensors. The creature had been tracking the colony for hours. Its movements were calculated, hunting like a predator on instinct. Claire analyzed the terrain. We need to approach carefully. The creature is fast and strong, but it is predictable. It hunts. Yes, but it has patterns. Luke nodded. We'll use those patterns. We will not fight blindly. We will think, adapt, and survive. That is how we have always done it. Hours passed, and the colony came into view. Smoke rose from the ground. Fires burned across structures, and screams echoed faintly through the sensors. The alien officer aboard the council station winced. It's worse than we imagined, he whispered. Luke and Claire remained calm. Claire checked her equipment. Luke prepared tools and devices they had carried from their own ship. Neither spoke of fear. They did not need to. Fear was irrelevant. Preparation and action were what mattered. As they entered the atmosphere, the creature appeared. It was larger than any beast the aliens had described. With thick, jagged armor covering its body, its claws scraped the ground, tearing up soil and stone. Its eyes glowed faintly, intelligent and dangerous. The colony's defenses were broken. Its soldiers scattered and helpless. Luke assessed the situation quickly. Claire, we need to draw it away from the colony. I'll prepare a trap. You distract it. Claire nodded. Understood. Let's move. They left the transport and advanced toward the creature. It noticed them immediately, roaring and charging. Alien soldiers froze. Watching as the humans faced the beast head-on, Luke and Claire moved quickly, using the terrain to their advantage. Claire led the creature with calculated movements, dodging its attacks, staying just out of reach. Luke moved behind it, placing devices he had prepared. The creature lashed out, claws slashing through rock and metal. Claire dodged easily, using her speed and awareness to stay safe. Luke activated his trap, wires and energy nets shooting out to restrain the beast. The creature roared, thrashing against the restraints, but it could not break free immediately. The alien soldiers stared in disbelief. They had seen advanced technology before, but humans combined intelligence with physical skill in ways no one had imagined. Luke and Claire moved with coordination, precision, and calm. Finally, after intense effort, the creature slowed. It could not continue attacking the colony. Luke and Claire had contained it, not with overwhelming force, but with clever strategy and skill. Claire wiped sweat from her brow. It's contained. Now we secure the colony. Luke nodded. We need to evacuate the survivors and ensure the creature cannot escape. The humans worked quickly, guiding the frightened colonists to safety. Alien soldiers tried to assist, but often got in the way. Intimidated by the humans' efficiency and bravery, Luke and Claire moved among the chaos, organizing the evacuation, checking for injured, and making sure the creature remained trapped. Hours later, the last colonist was safely aboard transport ships. The creature remained restrained, a testament to the human's skill. Varen, watching from the council chambers, finally spoke aloud. I have never seen anything like this. They faced the impossible and succeeded. No species could have done this. One alien officer whispered, voice shaking, humans, they are Deathworlders. The stories were true. Luke and Claire returned to their ship, tired but unshaken. They had faced danger many times before. They had survived storms, predators, poisons, and death countless times on their home world. The creature, terrifying as it was just another challenge. They had adapted, learned, and succeeded. Back at the council station, Varen gathered the council members. We were wrong, he said, voice heavy with respect and awe. We underestimated humans. They are not just survivors. They are extraordinary. The galaxy does not understand what we have witnessed. One council member whispered, what happens when they leave this planet? What happens when the humans decide to act elsewhere? Varen looked down at the view screen. Where Luke and Claire prepared for departure. Then the galaxy will learn. The humans, the Deathworlders, they are unlike anything we have faced, and we have only seen a small part of what they are capable of. Luke and Claire spoke quietly to each other. As the ship departed the planet, it's done, Claire said. The colony is safe. Nothing else we can do here. Luke nodded. Yes, but they will remember us. They will know humans are not to be underestimated. That is enough for now. They returned to their ship in silence, tired but satisfied. For them, this was not a victory. It was a task, another problem to solve, another danger to face. They had grown up where survival was never optional. They had faced impossible odds before. This was no different. The stars outside were cold and distant. But Luke and Claire did not fear them. They were humans. They were Deathworlders, and no matter how dangerous the galaxy might be, they would face it as they always had, calm, prepared, and ready. The council, however, was left in awe. They had seen humans endure the impossible, survive deadly threats, and succeed where every other species had failed. They had seen strategy, courage, and adaptability combined in ways they could not comprehend. Varen sighed, realizing the truth. The galaxy had been wrong about humans. They had underestimated them, and now the humans had shown that survival, courage, and intelligence were not enough to predict their actions. Humans were something more, something the galaxy would have to learn to respect and fear. The alien council would spend cycles debating, studying, and preparing for the humans' next move. But for now, the humans had acted without thought of glory or fear. They had saved lives, faced impossible danger, and remained unbroken. and in doing so, they had proven a lesson the galaxy would never forget. Humans were not just another species. They were Deathworlders, and their strength came from something. No one could easily challenge the ability to survive, adapt, and overcome, no matter the odds.